Okay, let's dive right into something truly mind-bending. A piece of ancient Buddhist scripture known as the Māratajjanīya Sutta. What we've got here isn't just some dusty old religious text. It's actually a fascinating psychological thriller. It explores exactly how an enlightened mind handles two of the absolute most dangerous extremes any of us can face: pure unadulterated malice and intoxicating ego-boosting praise. I want you to imagine, just for a second, facing the ultimate psychological test. I'm not talking about a bad day at the office. Imagine a concentrated, deliberate attack on your peace of mind by the literal embodiment of distraction and temptation. How do you protect your focus? How do you keep your composure? Well, this explainer is going to show us exactly how one of the Buddha's greatest disciples handled this exact scenario. And honestly, the ancient wisdom he used is surprisingly applicable to our crazy modern lives.
The story drops us right into the action with a super visceral detail. Venerable Mahā Moggallāna, who is a chief disciple of the Buddha, famously known for his immense psychic powers, is out for a walk. All of a sudden, he feels this terrible, unnatural weight in his stomach. The text literally describes it as feeling like a pile of heavy stones or a tightly packed bag of fermented beans. Gross, right? It's bizarre, it's super uncomfortable, and Moggallāna knows right away this isn't just a bad meal. He sits down, centers his mind, and looks inward to see what is really going on.
That brings us to section 1, the unseen intruder, where Mara harasses Mahā Moggallāna. Moggallāna quickly figures out exactly who was causing this agonizing discomfort. He looks into his own stomach and, believe it or not, sees Mara. Now, in Buddhist texts, Mara is the ultimate entity of temptation, distraction, and ego, basically the bad guy. But Moggallāna doesn't panic, not at all. He simply issues a powerful direct command: "Come out, wicked Mara. Do not harass the Tathagata and his disciples, lest it lead to your long-lasting harm and suffering." He is literally calling his unseen attacker out into the open. What happens next is this rapid, almost comedic realization that Mara goes through. First, Mara arrogantly thinks to himself, he doesn't actually see me, he's just guessing. But as Moggallāna keeps talking, literally reading Mara's exact thoughts out loud, Mara moves into denial mode. Even a Buddha wouldn't spot me this fast. Finally, reality sets in. Oh wow, he actually knows me. Totally defeated and with his cover blown, Mara exits Moggallāna's mouth and just stands there, looking pretty sheepish by the door. And here is where the text throws us a massive curveball. Moggallāna looks right at the entity standing by his door and drops a cosmic family twist. He says, "I know you're there, and I know you because in a past life, I was a Mara too. My name was Dūsī, my sister was Kali, and you are her son. You are my nephew." How crazy is that dramatic irony? The enlightened monk being attacked used to be the exact same type of demon attacking him. And to teach his nephew a lesson, Moggallāna launches into a grand flashback of his own past mistakes.
Which takes us to section 2, the age of Kakusanda Buddha, exploring the past life of Dūsī Māra. We're transported way back in time to the era of a previous Buddha named Kakusanda, where Moggallāna lived as the powerful and malicious Dūsī Māra. In this ancient era, Dūsī Māra was absolutely obsessed with breaking the composure of Kakusanda Buddha's two chief disciples. You had Venerable Vidura, who was completely unmatched in his eloquent preaching. And then there was Venerable Sanjiva, a total master of entering incredibly deep meditative states, specifically the cessation of perception and feeling. These two monks were completely flawless, and it drove Dūsī Māra absolutely crazy. Just to give you an idea of how incredibly grounded these monks were, the text shares this mind-blowing anecdote about Sanjiva. He's meditating so deeply under a tree that his breathing and pulse practically stop entirely. Some cowherds and travelers walk by, assume the poor guy has passed away, and decide to give him a proper cremation. They pile grass, wood, and cow dung on him and literally set him on fire. But because of his profound meditative state, the fire does absolutely nothing. The next morning, Sanjiva calmly wakes up, shakes off his robes, and just walks into the village to collect alms, leaving the villagers completely dumbfounded. Realizing physical disruption was off the table, Dūsī Māra pivots to psychological warfare. Here we are at section 3, the weapon of insults, testing the monk's patience. Dūsī Māra uses his powers to possess the local Brahmin villagers, making them relentlessly mock, insult, and harass the monks. And the insults are just bizarre. Listen to these specific ones from the text. The possessed villagers call the monks bald, lazy, and depressed. They mock their meditation, saying the monks just sit there staring like an owl looking for mice on a branch, or a jackal hunting for fish, or a cat waiting by a trash heap, or a donkey with its burden removed. It's this super specific, targeted mockery, perfectly designed to spark anger and shatter their peace.
But Kakusanda Buddha sees right through Dūsī Māra's tricks. He calls his monks together and gives them the ultimate defense against unjustified abuse, metta, or loving kindness. He tells them, do not fight back with anger. Instead, project a boundless mind, completely free from enmity and ill will. Spread compassion infinitely in all four directions, above, below, and all around. The monks follow this to the letter, and Dūsī Māra's plan completely backfires. The negativity just bounces right off their shield of compassion.
Since hate and abuse didn't work at all, Dūsī Māra gets creative. He pivots to the exact opposite extreme in Section 4, the weapon of adoration, highlighting the danger of extreme praise. His thought process is basically, if I can't make them angry, I'm going to make them arrogant. So Dūsī Māra possesses the villagers again, but this time he forces them to excessively honor, worship, and revere the monks. They are showering them with gifts, extreme respect, and constant adoration. Mara's hoping that by inflating their egos, they'll become attached to all the praise, lose their focus, and finally give him an opening to corrupt their minds. It's a great reminder that extreme success and adoration can honestly be just as dangerous as brutal criticism. This is where the Buddha's response is so crucial. When the attack was abuse, the defense was metta, loving kindness. But when the attack is overwhelming praise, the Buddha gives a totally different instruction. He tells the monks to contemplate the impurity of the body and the impermanence of all things in the world. He's telling them to recognize that this adoration is fleeting. It's not a source of true, lasting happiness. So we learn that different emotional extremes require entirely different mental antidotes. Armed with this grounded perspective, the monks stay perfectly humble, and once again, Mara fails. We've now reached the climax of the flashback in Section 5, the ultimate consequence, marking the fall of Dūsī Māra. Dūsī is completely out of ideas, and his frustration just boils over into a shocking act of physical violence. During a morning alms round, Dūsī Māra possesses a young boy and hurls a heavy stone directly at Venerable Vidura, literally cracking his head open. Blood is actively flowing, but Vidura's mind is so utterly unshakable that he doesn't react. He doesn't retaliate, he doesn't even break his stride. He simply continues walking calmly behind the Buddha, bleeding from his head like it's absolutely nothing. But as you can imagine, the universe has a limit. Kakusanda Buddha turns and looks at Dūsī Māra with what's called the elephant look, this deliberate, fully turned gaze of immense power. The Buddhist simply states that Dūsī Māra knows no moderation. And in that exact moment, the sheer karmic weight of assaulting such a pure being instantly pulls Dūsī Māra down. He immediately vanishes from the earthly realm and plummets straight into the great hell. Moggallāna doesn't pull any punches when explaining this to his nephew. He recounts the visceral, terrifying reality of the hell he had to endure as Dūsī. He talks about burning for tens of thousands of years. He describes his physical form being horribly mutated, sometimes having a human head, sometimes a fish head. He even speaks of being pierced by massive iron stakes that meet directly in the center of his heart. It is the absolute, ultimate consequence of malicious actions against the virtuous. And with that, the flashback ends, and we snap right back to the present moment. Moggallāna looks at his nephew, the current Mara, and delivers the core moral of this terrifying history lesson. He says, "A fool who comes to a blazing fire gets burned, thinking the fire won't burn me, but the fool burns himself." It's a heavy warning. Attacking an enlightened mind is literally like trying to punch a raging fire. You're only ever going to destroy yourself. As we wrap up the sutta, Moggallāna recites a final series of verses. He details his own immense psychic powers, how he can shake celestial palaces with his toe and converse with the highest gods, just proving his mind is absolutely grounded and unshakable. He warns that anyone harboring malice toward a virtuous mind will only experience immense suffering. Hearing this irrefutable truth from his own uncle, Mara realizes he's completely lost. The text concludes by noting that Mara became deeply sad, disappointed, and simply vanished from the spot. So I'm going to leave you with this final thought. We might not be fighting ancient demons, but every single day we are bombarded by forces trying to throw us off balance, right? Whether that's the harsh sting of unfair criticism or the intoxicating ego-building trap of social praise. This ancient explainer offers us a brilliantly simple framework. Meet hostility with boundless compassion, and meet excessive praise with the humbling reality of impermanence. So, how will you apply these antidotes to protect your own mind today? Something to think about. Thanks for exploring this with me, and we'll see you next time.